Hey there, here today with my 2004 F-250 Super Duty. I've got a turn signal light out, so I'm just going to kind of go take this opportunity to walk through how to replace any of the three lights up here on the front of your vehicle. This will apply to either side. I'm just going to use the driver's side as an example, but it's going to be the same process, just flipped for either side here. So basically you've got these three lights up front. You've got up here in this clear lens, that's going to be your combination high beam, low beam headlight. That'll switch, that's the light you'll be using for driving at night. And then down here, you've got another combination light. So this bulb has two filaments. It's got a one filament that's kind of dimmer, and that's going to be for your parking lights. And then the other filament is going to be for your blinker light or flasher lights, hazards, whatever you want to call them. All that functionality, any blinking is going to be run off of that one. So that's all in that one bulb, kind of in this main section here. And then you've got another secondary kind of parking running light behind this amber lens right here. So, all right, so anyone here who just wants to replace just your high beam / low beam bulb, that's a very easy process, which I'll show you here now. You just watch about the next minute of this video and then you're all done. All you have to do for that one is come under the hood, and you'll see this plug right here. All you have to do is grab onto that and pull it. And then what you can kind of do is grab onto this, what's left on there, the circular piece here, and just twist that counterclockwise. And that's kind of like this collar on here. That'll allow you to pull out the rest of the bulb. You'll hear kind of like a pop because it's got this seal on there. And then you just pop your bulb out and put your new one in, and then just reinsert it the same way. My bulb happens to be fine at this point. I just want to demonstrate how this is done, so I'm just going to put this back. So you'll just line that up with the hole. You'll have to kind of push it in there because of that O-ring that'll seal it up once again. Then just take your collar, kind of the tapered end of the collar, that's going to go over that bulb socket. You'll just kind of twist that back on, almost like a like a bottle cap, something like that. You'll kind of hear it snap into place once you give it probably a quarter or a half turn. And then you just take your wiring harness and plug that back into your bulb. This side has kind of got the arch, that's going to go towards the ground. And then this side's the top, and that's going to kind of just snap in there to your light socket. And then you should just hear that snap into place, and then you should be good to go for new headlights. All right, so if you're here looking for how to replace either your turn signal light or your parking light, that's going to be a little bit different process. What we're going to actually have to do is take out the assembly for those lights. So everything you see kind of in the amber lens there, we're actually going to unscrew that and pull that out from the front of the vehicle, and then we'll have access behind it to replace those two bulbs. So if you come down below your turn signal light, you're going to find that this is actually bolted on with these little brackets here. They're made of plastic. There's just a screw in there. There should be a screw there. Mine's missing right now. So what I'm thinking is if I unscrew that, I can just take this whole lens out of there, and then I'll have access behind that to replace the bulb from the back. Yep, so that's just that little screw there with a washer on it. And now that I've got that out of there, this whole thing is loosened up now. And that should just snap off of there. You might have to do a little bit of pulling or maneuvering just to get that out of there. Looks like this is held in. It's kind of got these pins here, one here and one here. And those will just fit into a hole like this. So that's kind of how you line it up when you're putting it back. But now we've got this pulled off, and we've got access to our lights here to switch those out. Okay, so for the turn signal bulb, so this is just going to twist. And that'll come out of there. Just go ahead and pull on it with your fingers to get it out of there. Looks like it does have quite a bit of rust and corrosion in there. And then you might want to just check the socket for any of that. If you're seeing any kind of corrosion or rust on the bulb itself, there's probably going to be some in the socket as well. So just take a look there and then maybe clean that out. Or what's nice in the case of this particular socket, it's got a wire harness that is attached to. You can just actually pull that socket off and just clean it off while it's not attached to any of the vehicle wiring. It's just going to have a tab on each side you can slip off. One of mine is broken off, but it should have two to start with. So just kind of pull that back. You can pull that off and then just clean that out. So I just took a little wire brush, slipped that in there and cleaned some of that out. Now that I've got that far, I'm going to go ahead and put this back on and put the new bulb in and see where we're at. This little yellow tongue that sticks out from the wiring harness, that's going to go the side closest to the socket. On your little plug here, that's a little hole down there. Kind of underneath those three prongs. All right, so I'll just line that up and snap it back in. All right, so the bulb should go in either way. There's contacts on both sides. So I'm just going to slide that into the socket. Should just snap in there. And then before I put all this back together, I'm just going to just test it how it is right now. So I'm going to just turn on my left turn signal and see if this is actually blinking as it should be. All right, so there we go. We've got our blinker going once again. And then I'm going to turn on my parking lights. All right, so I've got my blinker going once again. And looking at this bulb, what we can kind of see from that is that there's actually two filaments in there. There's the top one and the bottom one, so that's kind of the dual functionality. So from this, it looks like that bottom one, that's your flasher, and then the top one is just that constant kind of lower light parking light. So that's how they get two functions in this one bulb. So just half of it was broken, but we're replacing the whole thing. So to put this back in, on the socket, there's just kind of these wings sticking out. You just have to basically line those up with the slots of the corresponding size on this hole. So it'll be something like this. There we go. Once they're lined up and pushed in, you can just kind of turn it. And then once it's in place, it should be kind of just lined up with this whole assembly from side to side. All right, so last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and replace this third and final bulb in here, this little running light slash parking light that's behind this amber lens, kind of on the side of the front of your vehicle. Mine happens to already be loose. Hopefully yours is in a little bit better shape if you're watching this, but I'm just going to try to make do with the current state that it's in and just get that light replaced. Kind of the same deal here as on the turn signal light. It just kind of twists and pulls out of its hole in the assembly. And then what we can do is just pull that bulb out and just replace it by pushing in a new bulb right into that socket. So I've got my new bulb in here. I'll just test that out, make sure that works, and it does. So I should be all good to put this one back into the assembly as well, and then I'll put the full assembly back in. Just kind of screwed that back into the front of the pickup. So my socket appears to be a little bit loose here as far as fitting back into the lens. It was a little bit loose when I pulled the lens out, but it's kind of the same principle as for putting this back. It just kind of has these tabs on it. It looks like one is bigger than the others, so that bigger one has to go on a certain side. I think it's probably right here is the bigger one. So you just got to line that up. So just something like that, and then turn it. And it is kind of loose in there. It doesn't sit very well. But I think for the moment, that's just going to be fine. It'll just stay there well enough as is. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So then my last step is just to put the lens assembly back in. Again, it's just these pins that you got to line up right here and right here. It looks like this probably slides into something as well. So what that's going into, it looks something like this. That main pin that'll go in there, and then that plastic one's going to go in that hole right there, and then of course this one up here is going to go right into this hole right there. That should have everything sit correctly, and it looks like there's one more plastic one right here, and that'll go into I believe this hole. Right there. So I'll just kind of set it back in place, line this up, and it should set in there pretty easily. So now all I've got to do is take my little screw and get that started there. And then, of course, if you still have a screw here on the other side, put that one back as well. I'm just going to make sure that there's really no gap between that little bracket the screw goes through and the mounting surface there. So as long as that's the case, I'll just put that screw back in and tighten that up. All right, so once that's tightened down, it should be back in place, and you shouldn't be able to move it around at all. So should be good to go and ready to get those lights back out on the road. All right, so all in all, not too big of a job at all. It'll probably take you longer to watch this video than it actually will to change the light. Just these two screws to take out of there, and then just switch out the bulbs. Really the most confusing part was figuring out which bulb we actually needed to replace. Just kind of knowing that this has two different settings, kind of dual functionality, and then of course this other one over here. So with that said, thanks for watching, and I hope this video helped you out.